Most people assume getting a tattoo is about rebellion, a moment of boldness, a story written permanently on the skin. But something quieter is happening beneath that decision. And interestingly, the opposite decision can reveal just as much. Because there's a certain type of person who almost never gets tattoos. Not because they dislike them, not because they judge people who have them, but because something in their thinking works a little differently. You'll usually notice it in small details first. They think carefully before committing to things. They keep their environment simple. They avoid unnecessary changes unless those changes serve a clear purpose. And strangely, these same people often live very stable, structured lives. They go to work, pay their rent or mortgage, manage subscriptions, bills, and credit cards, build routines that look predictable from the outside. Nothing dramatic, just quiet consistency. But underneath that consistency, there's a certain psychological pattern. Imagine someone in their late 20s. They earn a decent salary. After taxes, maybe $3,500 or $4,000 a month. Rent takes a large portion. Car payments, insurance, groceries, utilities, streaming services, phone plans. By the end of the month, there's still some money left, maybe even a small amount saved. From the outside, everything looks stable. They're doing everything right. And people like this often approach life with the same mindset they apply to money. Careful decisions, long-term thinking, a quiet awareness that small commitments accumulate. A tattoo, after all, is a permanent decision made in a temporary moment. And for certain personalities, that kind of permanence triggers something in the brain. Not fear, just hesitation, because their mind automatically runs a subtle calculation. Will I still want this in 10 years? Not everyone asks that question, but people who do tend to ask it about many things. Jobs, apartments, cars, relationships, even the way they structure their daily routines. Psychologically, this trait is often connected to future-oriented thinking. Some brains naturally prioritize the present, others quietly simulate the future before acting. If you've ever delayed buying something because you imagined how it might feel 6 months later, you've experienced this. It's not about discipline, it's simply how your mind organizes decisions. For example, someone might walk past a tattoo studio while traveling in Barcelona or Amsterdam. The atmosphere is exciting, friends are encouraging it, the moment feels memorable. For many people, that emotional peak is enough. They walk in, choose a design, create a story. But the future-oriented mind pauses, not because the idea is bad, but because the brain instinctively asks, is this moment worth turning into something permanent? And very often, the answer becomes, maybe not. What's interesting is that this same thinking pattern shows up everywhere else in life. People with this mindset often design their routines very deliberately. Their finances look ordinary, but stable. They avoid unnecessary debt. They hesitate before locking themselves into long-term obligations. Sometimes they even avoid lifestyle upgrades that everyone else seems excited about. A bigger apartment, a luxury car lease, expensive memberships, not because they can't afford them, but because their brain quietly calculates the long-term weight of commitments. There's also another psychological layer. A lot of people use tattoos to externalize identity, symbols of beliefs, memories, turning points in life. It's a way of saying, this is who I am. But people who rarely get tattoos often process identity differently. They tend to treat identity as something flexible, something that evolves. What feels meaningful today might feel different in 10 years. Not wrong, just different. So instead of carving identity into permanence, they allow it to change quietly over time. This doesn't make them better, and it doesn't mean tattoos are impulsive or irrational. Many tattoos carry deep meaning, but the absence of them can sometimes reflect a rare mental trait, a kind of quiet cognitive patience, the ability to delay decisions simply because permanence deserves time. And in a world where most systems reward quick choices, that patience is unusual. You can see the same pattern in how people handle comfort. Modern life is built around convenience. Automatic payments, subscriptions, food delivery, digital entertainment, each one small, each one harmless, but together they slowly shape a lifestyle. People who think long-term tend to notice these systems earlier than others, They ask small questions like, do I actually use this subscription? Why am I paying for this every month? Is this routine helping me or just filling time? These are the same types of people who pause before permanent decisions. The same internal mechanism, just applied everywhere. Over decades, that mindset quietly compounds, not in a dramatic way, just subtle stability, fewer impulsive commitments, fewer decisions made purely for the moment, more space for adjustment, more flexibility as life evolves. But there's also a downside. Future-oriented people sometimes delay decisions too long. They can overthink experiences that might have been meaningful. They can wait for certainty that never really arrives. So the trait itself isn't perfect. It's simply rare, a brain wired to pause before permanence. And if you've gone most of your life without getting a tattoo, it might not be about tattoos at all. It might just mean your mind naturally protects the future version of you, even in small decisions, even in moments that feel temporary. If this way of thinking feels familiar, you'll probably enjoy the next videos on this channel. You can subscribe if you'd like to see more.